Josh Rosen might have the worst NFL career of all time.
No. He started some games.
Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but like, come on. This dude has had an absolute nightmare of an NFL career.
Well, he sucks. That's what happened.
He does suck.
I mean,
he does
Jesus
suck.
Christ. When he came into the league on the Cardinals and he was awful. You know how bad you have to be to get punted on after 1 year? It doesn't happen. So the year before he got drafted there, everyone was better. And then he got drafted and played. Everyone got worse. Then he left. Everyone got better. Then he went to Miami. Before he got there, everyone was better. Then he played for a couple games. Everyone got worse. And then Fitzpatrick took over and everyone got better again. What does that tell you about him? Like, he sucks. He makes everyone around him worse.
He's the ultimate example of like the guy who gets defended. It's like, well, his situation isn't very good. It's like, that doesn't mean that he's good. He can also just be like, just because your situation isn't good isn't really all that great of a defense for a player. Like, more times than not, if a young quarterback looks bad in a bad situation, then they are also part of that bad situation for the team's offense. It's like, oh, the rest of the front office put together this offense to play around them. If they messed up that badly with that stuff, good chance they messed up with the young quarterback too.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden Kirk, joined as always by the two greatest co-hosts of all time, Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash. How are you guys today?
Always great, Blaiden. Always great.
Love to hear
I'm doing well. You threw me off a little bit. Usually before we start, you're like, are you guys ready? Almost every time. It's like a tradition. Today's the first day you didn't do it.
The only reason I didn't do that is because Alex, our producer, actually said, are you guys ready?
Okay.
While we were already...
You didn't want to copy him?
He did it while we were recording. Usually he asked if we're ready before we start recording. Then he presses record. And then I ask, okay, are you guys ready?
Just see the thought process.
Just to throw that out there. We have a big episode in for you guys. Actually, it's not even that big, but we have a little bit to get into. NBA stuff, NFL news. You know, we have a news segment for you guys. It's going to be called our Friday Five, but I won't spoil too much of it yet. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're new. Leave a review, a comment on YouTube. We're on Apple, Spotify, etc. Keep helping grow the podcast. It's been a wild ride so far. It's been awesome. And if you haven't yet, please follow at StayHotPod on TikTok. And we'll be posting some awesome content there as well. Matt's Wi-Fi has been kind of wonky. My Wi-Fi was wonky last episode. I think we're gonna have a smooth ride this time. What do you think, Matt?
I think you just jinxed
it. Do you believe? I believe in speaking things into existence. So I think if anything, you just jinxed it.
We've had no lag up to this point. It's like a pitcher. It's like a pitcher throwing a no hitter. You don't say anything about it, dude.
Maybe you don't say anything about it, but I do. But yeah, we'll be hopping into some NFL news and introducing our new segment shortly. But first, some quick NBA things. Matt, you wanted to talk about Patrick Beverly.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about a couple of things that have been happening around the NBA with the Pat Bev stuff. I don't know if you guys saw this, but it's like really tough. People pulling up like this tweet where it's like Patrick Beverly's like, nowhere I'd rather be than with the Clippers, and then he got traded to the Grizzlies, and then he's like, grit and grind, let's get him. And then 2 days later he gets traded again. So I feel kind of bad for him, but I think that Patrick Beverly's a pretty good ad for the Timberwolves. They haven't done anything super, super crazy this offseason, and maybe they just need to get healthy and they don't really need to. But for a team that has, I think, a kind of a weaker bench unit, I just liked the ad. And I think, they need help defensively. Pat Bev does that. He's a little bit more of a role player when it seems like they've got a lot of guys whose main job is to score. So getting somebody in there who's, brings that energy on defense, I think is a big deal for them.
Yeah, it's a good ad, I think. And well, first of all, I've got to say, I hate Patrick Beverly. That guy can go to hell, all right, for what he did versus the Suns. And he's in my home state of Minnesota, and it's on site if I ever see Patrick Beverly there. But it is a good ad. And the Timberwolves on paper, I mean, they always kind of do this, but they look good. They look like they've got a lot of star power, and they look like they've got the talent to make a push. But it never quite comes together. And I think their problem in the past was their coach, Saunders. He was the son of Flip Saunders, right, who passed away. And then he got the job, and he was in over his head. He got that job, I think, if his dad wasn't who his dad was, he wouldn't have got that job, because he was, I think, one of the worst NBA coaches in the league for a while, and just could not do anything with that kind of talent. So now he's gone, and the talent is still there. They're getting a guy who can actually, defend off the bench now in Patrick Beverly. They've been so injured, and their big three never gets any time together. They could surprise some people, I think. I mean, there is talent there. And it's interesting to me, the last time that this unit kind of had an intense guy like Beverly was Jimmy Butler. And Jimmy Butler, of course, blew up on them for being too soft. And it'll be interesting to see, how Beverly reacts to being in that kind of same environment, to see if, things have gotten any better there for some of the I think that's guys.
I think that's a good way to look at it. You want the culture of the team needs to be probably a little bit tougher. New coach, Pat Bev maybe brings some of that. It's not like he's going to completely change the defense all by himself, but right. I liked the move. You just need your guys to stay healthy, though. Other thing I wanted to talk about, Terry Rozier gets a big time extension.
Scary Terry.
People were bothering me with this one. There's a bunch of people. First off, if you go on NBA Twitter, every single contract extension in the NBA is always going to be called an overpay. And I feel like I'm saying this right now after the Hornets sign a guy, so it sounds like I'm just being salty. Like, I know how that looks, but I've believed this for a while. Every single time someone gets extended, it's looked at an overpay. I don't think the Rozier contract was that bad. The Hornets made a point of not spending too much money on the guys that they had right now. That's why they didn't bring back Devontae Graham. And they ended up getting a pretty nice return for him, a first-round pick. And then they go out, and Rozier's their leading scorer, shooting, he was like 5th in three-pointers made last year. So this guy, it's not like he's just some role player. So giving him big money keeps LaMelo happy, keeps the team competitive now, because your other options were going to be trade him away. And then I think without Rozier, you'd be starting Book Night as a rookie. I like him, but I don't know how competitive that team is. Just trading away Rozier for, probably future assets. So I'm happy with it, even if it is a little high. He's only like the 23rd highest paid guard.
Yeah, I mean, you've got LaMelo on a rookie deal, right? Mm-hmm. And you're kind of that bubble playoff team. You need to go all. I mean, the Hornets haven't had playoff success in how long? They need to make these moves now. Well, LaMelo's on his rookie deal, and you've got the roster around him. You were in the play-in game. You had the opportunity to get in the playoffs. You need to build that team right now. And, trading away Rozier doesn't really do much to help you in really any era, unless you're getting back like some huge return. So yeah, letting go of him for the Hornets right now doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
And they do pay a little bit of a premium for guys like that. They do, but that's part of being a small market team. That's part of playing in Charlotte. And I think they've left themselves plenty of room in the luxury under the luxury tax next year to bring back Miles Bridges, which was one thing I was worried about. So I think that it's not like they just decided to do this on a whim. They've planned things out. It looks like they know what they're doing, and I like the direction they're heading.
Speaking of guys getting moved around, getting waived, getting cut, getting traded, Josh Rosen, might have the worst NFL career of all time.
No. He started some games.
Maybe exaggerating a little bit, but come on. This dude has had an absolute nightmare of an NFL career. The 49ers just got rid of him again. Not again, but the 49ers got rid of him, which means he's been getting rid of again. I just, what happened there? Theo, how are you feeling about?
Well, he sucks. He sucks. That's what happened.
He does suck. He does
Jesus
suck.
Christ. When he came in to the league on the Cardinals and he was awful. You know how bad you have to be to get punted on after 1 year? It doesn't happen. Happened to him, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's so unfair that this happened to you. He just never got a fair shot." It's like so the year before he got drafted there, everyone was better. And then he got drafted and played. Everyone got worse. Then he left. Everyone got better. Then he went to Miami. Before he got there, everyone was better. Then he played for a couple games. Everyone got worse. And then Fitzpatrick took over and everyone got better again. What does that tell you about him? Everyone got worse. The offense, the wide receivers, everyone wasn't performing as well when Josh Rosen was throwing the football around. So he sucks. He makes everyone around him worse.
He's the ultimate example of the guy who gets defended. It's his situation. his situation isn't very good. It's like, but he's also, that doesn't mean that he's good. He can also just be like, just because your situation isn't good isn't really all that great of a defense for a player. Like more times than not, if a young quarterback looks bad in a bad situation, then they are also part of that bad situation for the team's offense. It's like, oh, the rest of the front office drafted this or put together this offense to play around them. If they messed up that badly with that stuff, good chance they messed up with the young quarterback too.
Yeah, and coaches are around him in practice. Coaches are around him like in training camp. You know, for them to just be like, oh, after 1 year, you're just gone. Like you're gone. Like it's rare. It's rare you see that. And there must have been some sort of, you know, constant badness to him to have that happen.
Oh, when's the last time that happened?
I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head, but I remember it was pretty unprecedented when those rumors, and I didn't believe those rumors. I thought they were bluffing. I'm like, there's no way they move on from him, no matter how bad he was after 1 year for someone who's 5'8". Like, I thought they were bluffing. I thought they were like, this is a smoke screen. They're going to draft Quinnen Williams. But he'll land on another team most likely, probably drift around as a backup before ultimately fading into nothingness. But, you know, if he was good, he'd look good somewhere, but he hasn't.
Who do you guys think the worst NFL player of all time actually is? Do you have like a guy who comes to mind?
I mean, if you want to talk about like Hall of Fame busts, I mean,
now, I'm not talking about bust because that has to do with
like.
Well, I guess that's no fun because there's probably some like unrestricted free agent or undrafted free agent who played like no time.
The worst I've ever seen is Don Barkley, a guard for the Packers, who I think I could have gotten around. That guy, he was in, and I just would weep for Rodgers in the backfield because I knew that he was going to get pressure up. Who was
the Raiders quarterback? Who's the Raiders quarterback?
Jamarcus
Russell. That's got to be up there as far as. And
but he was a number one overall pick, so like there were some things
outside. There were things outside of football that dictated, you know, him not.
Yeah.
You know, being good in the NFL.
Hackenberg stands out.
Hackenberg's up there. Hackenberg is really up
bad.
there. You're right. Peterman is a guy who always comes to mind as like the shining example of someone who sucks. But I mean, he's still on a team. Like we saw him in Raiders.
We watched him tear it up.
He was tearing it up at Raiders camp.
He looked good at Raiders camp, kind of. So, like, there was definitely a guy, number 46, the running back at Raiders camp, looked like the horrible NFL player there. Some dude who got cut, basically. This is a dumb conversation. We've never heard of the worst NFL player because he entered the building.
Well, apparently,
got cut in 3 days.
You know, Nate Peterman is apparently better than Case Cookus. So,
right. Guys are getting cut to keep Peterman on the roster.
Yeah, so Peterman can't be that bad. You know, going along with guys getting cut, Tebow. You know, I'm actually kind of surprised.
What does he know about blocking?
I was
happy to see that way.
I liked some of the Tebow throws. You know, that was a good video, Theo.
What I learned from that is that I think, as far as analyzing a sport, football is probably the hardest, or at least it has like. There's such a wide variety of opinions because, like, you saw that block play, right?
Two of them.
You guys,
two horrible ones.
Yeah, but like the one that really blew up on Twitter.
Yeah.
And people were clowning that, but then I saw like Danny Woodhead defending it. That guy's a former NFL player. And this is like some weird, bizarro play, and people can see it both ways.
I see the defense for it is that the original run was designed to go to the left A gap, and that gap got closed off. So technically, Tebow kind of did his job, but really it's just he got lucky that the linebacker didn't react or didn't stay home and play the cutback at all. That's really all that happened.
No world was that a good block. I don't care what Danny Woodhead said. He's an idiot if he thinks Tim Tebow did a good job on there.
Yeah, like I understand the defense for it, but it's wrong. Like
Tim Tebow definitely like closed his eyes and launched instead of like trying to have any kind of form or good technique. He definitely just closed his eyes and said, "Here's my shoulder," and then the guy just slid off of him. Like that was a horrible block, and he's a former quarterback, so like obviously he's not going to be a good blocker. Like we talked about this as soon as in one of the first Stay Hot episodes ever. was when Tebow got signed. And I'm like, imagine Tim Tebow trying to block you. That's like one of the first stay hot like moments of all time. And then it all came to, and then like it happened and he sucks at it. Like, I'm sorry.
Didn't you guys say you would rather get tackled by Aaron Donald than blocked by Tim Tebow?
See, here's
I may
here's
have
the thing,
said
man.
that. Well, it was Donald with one arm.
It was Donald with one arm. You can go down. I mean, like,
Donald
here's the
with
thing.
one arm.
It's easy to make fun of Tebow when he's playing NFL offensive lineman. Like, that dude has 50 pounds on me. And I'm going to be real with you. Bad form is not going to make a difference when when it's me.
And if he has 50 pounds on you, he has 70
and he's getting
pounds
like a
on
running
me.
start. I don't know. I just think the stuff with the like bringing in Tebow or whatever, it's like you see Logan Thomas because he was a former quarterback turned tight end, but that took a long time. That didn't happen overnight. You know, he was like on the roster bubble for several teams for like 4 or 5 years making that transition. So to expect Tebow to come in and be able to do that really quickly was probably unreasonable.
Yeah. So Tebow gone. I know Urban Meyer. I know it cut him to his soul to have to release Tim Tebow like that. But
again, I'm
that
surprised.
was just a weird.
I thought they were going to keep him
clearly
just
was
for the
not going to work. But let's move on.
Someone who didn't get cut. Jamal Adams is the highest paid safety in the NFL. 4 years, $70 million.
Not even.
Theo, do you think it's Blitz boy? We're just gonna
He really is. I mean, Blitz. That's a horrible contract to me. Like maybe he gets back to his old form, but to give 2 first-round picks for him and then a $70 million deal, you have to be worth that as a defensive player. You have to be the best defensive player in the league. You have to be in the conversation for the elite of the elite, defensive player of the year. Just wonderful in every single aspect of your game. And Jamal Adams is a safety who gets picked on in coverage. So like what is like you're giving up 70 million and 2 first-round picks. That could have turned into 5 like starters. That could have turned into like 2 first-round draft picks, or you could have traded back. It could have turned into as many as you wanted, plus the 70 million. I mean, they could have revamped their entire secondary, and instead they get a good blitzing like linebacker hybrid. It's not a good deal for them. They did not win this trade at all.
I mean, even Khalil Mack for the 2 first was like tough. Like he's great, and it was tough for the Bears.
I have a video on my YouTube channel that they didn't win that trade because it prevented them from being able to up their passing game and get rid of Trubisky.
Yeah. So I mean, I kind of think it was them just. It's like, well, we traded 2 first for him, so we're not. Yeah, it's like we're gonna let him walk. Then we look like idiots.
Yeah, you can't let him walk. The biggest problem, I think, is that, you know, he was good in coverage at one point, right?
Yes.
So it's like you're banking on him reverting to that form, and I think, you know, part of it is that coverage year to year is really hard to play consistently, and that's not even just like a statistics thing. It's just like, you know, covering is difficult to do in the NFL.
But
right, guarding receivers
even
is
if
difficult
Jamal,
to do. So
some guys, elite safeties can be good at covering every year.
Yeah,
Earl Thomas was good at covering. Like Jamal Adams was bad at it last year. This is not just, I know Blitz Boy is a meme and he can't cover as a meme. There's truth to it. Like he was legitimately not that good in coverage last year. And a lot of elite safeties do not have years where they're just like not good at it. So he's going to have to step it up. I'm not saying that he can't, but it's like you gave up way too much for too big of a risk.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, okay, if he's the best safety next year, like let's say he returns to form or he goes nuts, is he worth it? Was it worth 2 firsts and 70 million? Probably not still. So it's too big of an investment.
Yeah, if he was the best, I would be like, yeah, I can't be mad at it. But like, again, he's good at blitzing, but he blitzes on like 8% of his plays, like on 92% of the other snaps. It's like you've got to be good on all 100%, and he just wasn't last year. And you know, maybe that turns into, you know, that's just a one-off weird year. But I don't know. I'm suspicious.
Matt, that's a really good point. That even if he's the best safety in the NFL, he's probably not the best defender in the NFL. And that, I think, is the hard part to swallow.
I mean, even if you get the best defender in the NFL, it's really tough to build around the salary cap when you are paying your quarterback big money, and Russ is worth it. I'm not trying to say he's not, but you're paying your quarterback big money. That already hurts you in the cap. Then you trade away 2 firsts. That's the most valuable asset you have to staying under that cap limit. And then you pay Jamal Adams off a down year, huge money. I mean, eventually that comes back. Eventually that's going to come back and get you when you're building the rest of your team. And that's why I think the Seahawks roster has a lot of holes in it right now.
Yeah, it came back to bite the Bears. Khalil Mack, awesome football player. One of the top 20 in the league, probably.
The Bears also didn't have a superstar quarterback.
They didn't have a superstar quarterback, and they couldn't really do much to help them because their cap space was bad. It's still bad, and it's getting kind of worse because Khalil Mack is making even more money. They couldn't really draft someone to help Trubisky out. There was a lot of things that the domino effects of Khalil Mack prevented the Bears from improving in a lot of ways. And their defense went from like good to great, then back to good. So it's like, what did they really get from that? The Raiders had a better opportunity to build their team than the Bears had. The Raiders just screwed it up by drafting exclusively reaches. So I don't know. It's just not a great idea to give up 2 first-round picks for any one like defensive player or any non-quarterback.
Yeah,
if Jamal turns into the best safety in the league, I'm not going to be like, what a horrible deal, because like good players are good players, and it happened, and you got someone elite. But if you didn't get someone like elite, then it's like just horrible, really.
Yeah, I don't want to hover on this too long, but do you think then the Rams, made bad decisions in trading? What is it, the equivalent of like 5 first-round draft picks for Jalen Ramsey and Matthew Stafford? No,
because I think Jalen Ramsey is playing like the best. That's why I say if Jamal Adams is the best safety in the league, I think it's probably worth it, because like you look at Ramsey and like he's probably the best corner in the league with Jair, and like you can't say that was a bad move, I think, because a lot of first round picks are bust, but it is kind of a situational thing, I think, case by case. I think the Rams handled it a little bit better, and they got a little bit of a better player, and obviously Jalen Ramsey than Jamal Adams, but we'll see. I do think the Rams that worked out pretty well for them, but still, I mean, they might. The Rams are very interesting because if they screw up this year and they don't have like any first round picks until 2025, I mean, they could be. Let's wait a little bit and see with the Rams, because I mean, if they are first round exits this year and you have no first round picks until 2025, those big wins and getting those big players start to look like L's pretty damn fast. So we'll see.
That is the concern, because Stafford is supposed to kind of push them over the edge.
And one thing I heard about Stafford, a stat I heard about Stafford is that he is like 8-68 in his career against winning teams. 8-68.
That's not great.
No, it's not great. So,
well, I mean, I think a lot of trades are like that, where it's, this is they're making win now moves. And if it works out, then great job. And if it doesn't, that looks really, really bad, really, really fast. I think about like 2019 Raptors. If that ball bounces the wrong way against the 76ers and the 76ers win in overtime or whatever, that Kawhi trade looks pretty rough.
Right. But, right. No, the win now move, they're in win now. Like, the Jalen Ramsey deal and all their deals that they've made. I don't know if we can judge them yet, because they got to win it all. If like Sean McVay just said, if Donald and Ramsey don't get a ring, that's on him. Like, they've got all the talent to win a ring. Yeah. So they've got to do it. And if they don't do it, then it's a bad era. And if they do, it's a good era. So I don't know. Know yet.
If they win the Super Bowl because of these trades, that's great. But if they don't.
Yeah. I mean, we're getting on the process. It's like, is the process good or bad? Is what we're asking. And I don't know. I think that, the process of trading multiple firsts for a guy who's not a quarterback is generally bad. Right now, maybe they're the exception because Jalen Ramsey has been playing so well. And I don't think anyone in that building regrets that. But so the process, I think, was a little bit questionable. The results so far have been good, but they might turn to bad. So maybe it was a bad deal. We'll see. If they win, then
I guess the only thing would be to see is, what were those draft picks? What did those picks end up being? Speaking of, other teams that we kind of like, what do you think of that?
That kills me. I hate.
Is it?
Never judge a trade by how the other team that received the picks.
I'm just saying, what could they, like, we were talking about opportunity cost here. What could they have gotten?
Then
they wouldn't have drafted the same guy that the original team. Like, what could they have gotten? You could have drafted a guy in the 6th round who turned out to be great. I think you got to judge the processes more than the result. I think the process of the Rams trading for Ramsey was, in fact, I think I had a podcast about this when I was doing it by myself my freshman year. And I think I said that was a bad deal for the Rams. So I guess I do think it was kind of a bad process because trading multiple firsts for a defensive player is a bad process in my opinion. So I got to stick with that. Now, and it's gotten
sticking
good
with
results,
your guns
though.
from 2 years ago.
I don't know, but I do think the process was a little bit bad. The results so far have been good, but I don't know if it will continue to be good as the years roll on. That's the only thing. But it is a bad process to trade for. So yes, that's my final take.
Okay.
Trading multiple firsts for a defensive player is a bad process, and if it works out, that is probably not what you should expect every time that it happens.
The Rams are the exception. We do like the Rams, though.
Not yet. They haven't been the exception. There's so far it's looking good.
So far, they look like they'll be the exception.
It was looking good for Khalil Mack too. It was looking good in 2018.
I'll say this about the Rams. I like them, but like I really do. But are they your favorite team? Like to win the Super Bowl?
No.
Are they your favorite team to come out of the NFC?
Yes.
They aren't anymore. They were, but I changed my mind.
The Bucs are probably still better. The Rams can beat the Bucs. Don't get me wrong, but the Bucs are probably still favorites. Has any team invested more of their future into winning now?
No.
That's probably not good. Doesn't mean that they can't win, but
the Browns.
That's how
maybe?
I would look at it.
Yeah.
Shoot. No,
they've got to go through.
Matt, you trapped me into that one.
No one said anything about the Browns at all. Not one person mentioned.
The question was, had any team invested more into their future?
No, the Browns
are invested like how many first-round
draft picks? They don't have a first. They haven't had a first-round draft pick since Goff, and they don't have one until 2023. The Browns. What? The Browns have nothing to do with that. They haven't. It's not even close.
I don't know. I hate for this whole segment to come off as like us hating on the Rams because like I do like them. I do like Stafford. I do think they have pretty solid odds. They're one of those teams where it's like maybe they're not your pick, but like you could totally see the path for them getting there. But if it doesn't work out, it's going to be way rougher than if it doesn't work out for any other team.
Right. Everyone thinks it's good right now, but the potential for that to blow up and them being like a joke in like a year is also quite high. Like,
very possible.
They invested all this and still can't they're a first round exit. Like that's also like I said, Stafford is 8-68, I think, against winning teams. And now he's going to, and I know the quarterback wins are not like a good way to look at things. And I know the Lions were bad, but 8-68 is a tough record against like that.
Saying the Lions are bad is an understatement.
No, it's not.
Lions,
look,
Lions.
It is. I like Stafford. I really do. I think he's super talented, but like he had Megatron. The offensive lines have not been bad. He had Golden Tate. He had Kenny Galladay. Like, I don't want to hear that
they had that one year. They had that 1 year with a good defense. They had that 1 year with a good defense, but they have never really had a good coach. They never really gave Stafford a good coach.
No, they didn't. And I think Stafford will be a top 10 quarterback this year, but for him to go win 4 games in a row against a playoff team, like playoff teams, that's what it takes to win the Super Bowl. Yeah. And you're riding with a guy who's 8-68 against good teams. It's just a little concerned. When I heard that, I got a little concerned. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just a little concerning. Anyway, I do think it's more likely than not that this Rams process ends poorly than ends with the Super Bowl.
You're probably right. The analytics probably favor you there. You're a little concerned about the Rams. I'm a little concerned about, I was a little concerned about the Broncos, but Vic Fangio says he's going to probably name the starting quarterback after their second preseason game. Do you think it's going to be Locke?
Oh my God, it's going to be Locke. Did you see him in the first preseason game? Oh my God.
I saw it, and awesome. I saw you live tweeting. You were having the time of your life.
I was having the time of my life. Locke is the drug I can't quit, man. Locke, we're going into the narratives section of this episode. I'm pushing the True Locke narrative. I don't care. I don't. Like, he throws flat lasers all over the field. I mean, at the end of last season, he was balling, and I stand by that. And he gives the Broncos a Super Bowl winning ceiling with that defense. I'm pushing the Drew Lock narrative. He's going to be the starter. I mean, with the way he looked in the first preseason game and then the timing of their coach being like, okay, we're starting to zero in on a guy. It's going to be Lock. And if he sucks, put in Bridgewater, but you got to bet on that potential, even though he hasn't really put it all together in the last 2 years.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. Like, Lock has a lot of potential, but dude, you've set yourself up to get hate every time Lock throws an interception. You're getting added when it gets posted.
Yeah, it's not even like if he has a bad game. If he throws one bad pass,
and see, here's the thing.
Like mentioned on Twitter.
And here's the thing, man. Like, people.
No, this is not true. This is not true because I have agendas on so many quarterbacks. Lock is like the 8th one on the list.
Yeah, any quarterback does anything, you're getting 8.
No, they're below Wilson and Burrow and Tua, and like he's below all those guys. Like, but here's what I remember my Lock takes.
You probably know, like, odds are Lock won't work out. Right? Like, if you had to bet on it, like even odds, you would say that Lock doesn't work out. You know that. But the reason why you're so high on him is because you think the odds and like the reward if he does work out is higher than other people think. So people will trash you if he doesn't end up being good, but you're just saying like he deserves another chance. The talent is there. He's probably not as bad as people think, and it's not time to give up on him yet.
No, that is my take. My take is he's kind of Jameis-y, like Jameis Winston tier. My take is not that he's Josh Allen tier. My take is that he can be a guy who puts up a bunch of yards and touchdowns, and I think he can. I mean, he's 8-10 in his career, which is not horrible. And like, if he blossoms into the guy that his talent level is, he can bring the Broncos to the Super Bowl. All right. That is my take on Drew Lock. He can be a high level quarterback at times. He can make big throws, and you got to bet on it still. I think if your other option is Teddy Bridgewater, you got to bet on Lock, because last year was, new system. Everyone was young. Like, he's thrown to a bunch of rookies. Let him grow for one more year and potentially get rewarded instead of punting on him soon. Like this, he's got that kind of talent. And so my take on Lock is that everyone thinks he's just like the worst starting quarterback in the league. I don't think he's quite that bad. And I do think he has more potential than a lot of people.
He's far from the worst starting quarterback in the league.
I wouldn't say far, but he's not the worst.
I think if you were to take like Carson Wentz, I think I would take Lock over Carson Wentz. Legitimately.
Maybe.
And maybe that's bold. I don't know. I kind of said the same thing with Daniel Jones. I would consider taking Daniel Jones.
I would take Lock over Jones. I think Lock has a higher.
I would take Lock over Jones,
and I think
too.
They're both likely bad. So I'd rather bet on the guy who has like a high ceiling. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Jones is bad in my opinion. Daniel Jones is just.
But that deep throw passer rating though.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, we'll see. I mean, there's still some time, but anyway, Lock is like so far down. Like if also he's someone I say good things about and no one cares. Like if I say bad stuff about someone and they do well, that's when everyone kills me. If I say good stuff about someone and they do poorly, people don't get as mad at that.
I guess that's fair. Well, I hope you have 5 other guys that are on your agenda, because we're starting a new segment called the Friday 5. I don't know if we'll always keep the name, but you guys get the idea.
I like the name.
Basically, yeah, I like the name too. But basically, what?
I said you just threw some shade at the name.
I said I like the name. I just said that I don't know because like, what if we do it like on a Saturday? Like, what if for whatever reason we need to release on a Saturday? We can't call it the Saturday 5. That sounds weird.
We'll add a 6.
It'll still be Friday.
The Saturday 6.
Will go along with it.
All right. I just talked for like half an hour, so I'm going to let you guys talk about your agendas before I go back to me.
That's reasonable. Yeah, but basically we're just going to give 5 players that we have on our agenda per se. I think it's a concept from NBA Twitter. Am I wrong? I saw a couple people post it. It's probably not originated. This is your idea, Matt.
Okay. So you know how you'll like push the agenda of a player it's like, oh, I'm pushing the Trey Young agenda or whoever. Well, then I've seen some people post like, these are the guys on my agenda. And if it was started by a certain person and I don't know them, I'm genuinely sorry. But I found it off of Twitter. I thought that's really fun. So I wanted us to come up with, this will be for the NFL, our 5-player agenda. And I don't know if we had any like set rules for it. It's just like 5 players who you kind of either think there's like a big misconception about them, or you think that they're way better or way worse than people think, or even a guy who is like a young or a rookie who you think is going to break out this year. So that type of stuff.
That's totally fair. I have a couple rookies, but I think, like Theo said, he just went on his big, long Drew Lock rant. So Matt, who's the first guy on your agenda?
I got Josh Allen. And I feel like I understand that Josh Allen is coming off an MVP season and everyone thinks he is great. So I am not exactly he's not exactly some huge underdog story, but I really believe in him to continue being this good. I think he's going to be a long-term elite quarterback. He has too many tools. I think the offense built around him right now is really good. He's got really good weapons. The running threat is legit. There's something about that team with the Carolina coaches, and they bring in a ton of Carolina players, and Josh Allen, he's just as close to Cam Newton as you can get him. And I mean, he's just nuts. He's so good. I've said this 1,000 times on this podcast. Every time he throws the ball, I'm amazed of how fast it is. And I don't know if there's a quarterback who is as physically talented as Josh Allen in the league right now.
Probably not.
Probably not. Unless you want to say Lamar, because Lamar's probably a better runner, but the arm difference, I'm kind of taking that in. So I guess it's just me saying I'm a big believer in Josh Allen. I think he's going to put up MVP numbers again, assuming everything goes right on that offense. And I'm a big believer in the Bills overall too.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I don't think there's any reason to believe that he'll, I know the analytics, I've kind of leaned the analytics will say that he'll like regress a little bit. But also the team hasn't gotten any worse. The coaching staff is still good. So I don't know.
I just remember it used to make me so mad when he got drafted. There were so many people who were like, he's terrible. How can he was his completion percentage from college and all this stuff. And I'm like, but the tools, I was always on board with the Bills taking a shot on a guy with those tools. And it's sweet to see him, make good on that stuff and put together. He's just improved so much so quickly. I'm just a big fan.
No, he's really good. Theo, who's other than Drew Lock?
I'm going to go with AJ Brown. I think AJ Brown is the best wide receiver on his team. I do. I think he's better than Julio at this point in their respective careers, and I think that he's one of the upper echelon wide receivers in the entire league. There's nothing that he can't do. There's nothing that that there's almost no other wide receiver that combines his skill set. He has long arms. He can moss people. Against Marlon Humphrey in the playoff game, he mossed him in the end zone, had a really nice catch. He killed him, all right? He had that one-handed catch versus the Jaguars. His catch radius is insane. He's physical at the catch point. He has good hands, all right? Catching, check. Yards after catch. When he grabs the ball, he runs through it full speed. He's impossible to tackle. Him and Tebow Samuel are the best yards after catch guys in the league, rack guys in the entire league. He runs like a running back. He'll truck you. There was that play against the Ravens where he ran through their entire defense to score a touchdown. All right, so he can catch anything. He's one of the best tackle breakers in the league. As a route runner, he's very clean. He posted one of the best success rates versus man coverage in the entire league last year. He was consistently open. So to me, you've got no one really in the league combines after the catch, during the catch, and before the catch like AJ Brown. That guy has a skill set that is so complete. And when you're in this offense with Derrick Henry, and even Julio, he doesn't get all these targets. His yards per target are super high. His totals are a little bit low. But if one of these years he's going to need to step up and get 150 targets, and when he does that, it is going to be a nightmare because it is going to be AJ Brown regarded in that Diggs, Adams, Tyreek Hill type of tier, which he's not right now, but I really think he has that kind of talent. I think that's the guy I'm pushing. That's the narrative I'm pushing, that A.J. Brown has the potential to be the best wide receiver in the league, point blank, period. I don't know if I'd call him that right now, but I can't really think of if someone wanted to make that argument to me, I wouldn't say no. I think he's got that kind of potential.
I mean, the only person I can think of with as many or close to as many tools is Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek also does. Yes.
Yep.
Tyreek, in my opinion, I've said Tyreek is the best. I might lean Adams now. I don't know. Tyreek is. I'm on my top 100 players list. I had Tyreek number 2 behind Adams. I flip flop on them being 1 and 2, but Tyreek is, I think, underrated. I think he's better than Hopkins. I think he's better than Diggs a little bit, even just because, and he might be better than Adams just because he is that guy that combines all those things as well. But Brown is also that dude, and I think everyone will. This won't even be a hot take soon.
Well, you guys went with the toolsiest guys in the NFL back to back. So I guess I can kind of go along the same train. Kyler Murray has MVP potential. Like there's no reason to believe otherwise. You know, you want to talk about a guy who has the athleticism to stretch the field horizontally like Lamar. He has the arm talent to stretch the field vertically. And when he's not on the field or not on the field at 100%, the Cardinals offense is a travesty. He is incredibly valuable to that offense and that team. And I know that it's like, oh, but he's like 5'8". Who cares? He can ball. He's just straight up a baller. That guy's insane.
I think he measured in at like 5'10" as well, but he is a tiny guy.
It's like, it doesn't matter. It's like Russell, like the whole short quarterback narrative is horrible. Like,
nope.
I don't think it matters. It does matter to an extent because you can invite pressure by not being able to see, and you have to like shift into windows that does invite pressure at times. And I think because of that, it's like Russell Wilson has the highest rate of like quarterback hits because he has to move around so much. And then Kyler Murray gets the ball out a little bit quicker and he has the highest rate of bat downs at the line of scrimmage because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm stealing this almost word for word from a YouTube account I watched in Marxist film, but he's like, it absolutely matters if a quarterback is short. It absolutely matters. Tom Brady is 6'6", right? He just can
Tom Brady is
everything.
not 6'6". There's no.
Yes,
he's
he is.
6'4".
Look it up. He's like 6'4". He's like 6'4".
I'm looking this up right now.
He's super tall. He just sees the entire field, right? It would not be a hot take to
6'4".
Okay. He's a big guy.
6'6".
Anyway, I'm just saying, if there was a point guard who is 5'10", we would be like, that's a problem, right?
Yeah.
If there's a quarterback who's 5'10", we have to pretend, even though his job is to throw the football over the real 6'6" guys and like see things behind people, we're like, oh, there's no way that's a problem. It's a little bit of a problem. And you can make it work if you're extremely talented like Russell Wilson. But I do think it gets Russell Wilson in trouble at times too. Yeah. It does help to be tall. But I'm not disagreeing with you on Kyler because he is got that like Vic level talent where it's like running and passing. And he's probably a little bit more, I think every single NFL player to ever exist is a little bit more buttoned up than Michael Vick. But I do agree with you, but I disagree that the short quarterback narrative is bad.
It does matter to an extent. I just hate that like it's used like so heavily against. Like that's the only thing people really have against him is that he's short, but he's so ridiculously talented. And I think given a full off season in this new, in the system with Cliff, even though not 49ers fans, Cardinals fans hate Cliff Kingsbury, I think given a full off season with that offense, DeAndre Hopkins is there. They've been who's the guy they drafted, the receiver? I can't remember his name now.
Rondale Moore.
Yeah,
I don't disagree with you. I see the vision there. I see the vision there.
I said a couple months ago he's my dark horse for MVP, and I'm sticking by that. I think he has that kind of talent. So moving on, Matt, do you have a second one?
I do. I went a little bit too mainstream with my first pick. So let me go.
That's fair. I figured someone would go.
Yeah, I mean, this one, I'm going to talk about Gerrid Doaks. That's my guy. And I don't even know if he's a lock to make a roster.
Is he the Dolphins running back?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Played for Cincinnati. So I'm biased. I'll be 100% honest, guys. But I really think he's good. I think of any undrafted, like of the, or was he 7th round or undrafted? He was 7th round, I think. He's 230. He's really explosive. He handles contact well. I think that the Dolphins have a running back room that is very workable. I think he can work his way up into it. I haven't seen what he did in the Dolphins' first preseason game, so maybe I should have paid better attention to that. But
dude's not even paying attention.
No, Doaks, he had a big run. No, I think he had a big run or something. But I remember watching him at Cincinnati. I was really surprised that he went that late.
Yeah, I remember you were talking about him around draft time, just about how explosive he was.
Yeah. So I think he ends up making the roster and maybe getting some carries this year. Or maybe he gets cut and doesn't play, but I like him. I think he's good.
He gets cut.
They need to get Malcolm Brown up out of there. I don't know what he's doing.
That's another thing I'm thinking. Malcolm Brown has not looked good. That's just another spot that Doaks could possibly like. I really believe in him.
Yeah. All right. I could see that. Yeah, the Miami room, I think I'd bet against that just because the offensive line kind of sucks and he's like 4th on the depth chart.
Well, so I'm not talking, but when I'm talking about like him being like a guy that I'm high on, I don't mean like he's going to go rush for 1,500 yards this year. I mean like he'll make the roster and he'll end up having like a nice little NFL career.
Yeah, I like
that's fair.
All right, Theo.
I'm going to push a negative narrative here, and it's on Christian McCaffrey. I think that Christian McCaffrey, I've ranked him as the 6th best running back in the league. I think the guys who are undisputably better than him are healthy Saquon, healthy Henry, healthy Kamara, healthy Cook, and who's the guy? Chubb. Those guys, I think, are all definitely better than Christian McCaffrey because I think Christian McCaffrey is just average as a pure runner. Matthew's telling our producer if he can kick me out. No, let me say, I think that Aaron Jones is a better pure runner with the ball in his hands than Christian McCaffrey. I really do. I don't think that he deals with contact super well because he's a little dude. He's, fast. He can juke guys out. But as far as like contact balance goes and how they, easily they go down, I think there's a lot of guys that are better than Christian McCaffrey at that. And then what he does that is so valuable, though, is in the passing game. But I just don't know if catching his average depth of catch is 0 yards down the field. And I just think that skill set for a running back is easier than everyone thinks it is. And it's like Kamara had more yards per catch and like all these guys I think could do it if they really wanted to. And I don't think taking these running back checkdowns is like this super valuable thing to an offense, which is why you see, the offense be better this year or last year without him.
Matt, I assume you want a rebuttal.
I do think McCaffrey's super good, but like the team doesn't win when he plays and we gave him big money and he's injury prone. I love him, but I kind of don't disagree. I'll be honest.
Yes, let's go. No,
you got this.
I still think
that he's bad. I think the
he's
distance
in the
between
elite
these
tier.
top.
He's in the elite tier. He's just at the bottom of the elite tier. He's in the elite tier. He's just at the bottom of like the Henry.
And I disagree with some parts of it. Like, yeah, his average depth of reception's not that great, but he's great in the open field after he gets the ball. And I don't think there's other running backs that do that like him. But I think a lot of people having him as the number 1 running back comes down to he got a lot of volume and he was good in fantasy. I think it comes down to a lot of that. And I was very frustrated when he signed them for huge money because it's just not supposed to do that with running backs. And I know that shouldn't affect my opinion on him overall as a player. But I don't know, dude. And I feel like sometimes the game plan is too centered around him getting these checkdowns. And then the quarterbacks are too quick to go to that. And maybe that's not his fault. But I don't know if I don't think I have him as low as you. I don't. I still think he's a top 3 running back, but I definitely see where you're coming from with that, even as a Panthers fan. And it pains me to say that you are too low on him, but you're not completely wrong.
And I think the biggest thing with like the catching out of the backfield stuff is the value of that is you have a guy who's maybe not as great in between the tackles. Let's get him out. Let's get him out in the open field and, just let him make moves on corners instead of having to try and run through Aaron Donald.
I actually, the more I think about this, McCaffrey does do a lot of good stuff. The winning stuff is a little bit not his fault. That is a goofy stat. And he is, and like the contract is bad for an injury prone running back. It is. But in between the tackles, like, well, what are we doing blocking wise for him? Not all that much. And I do think he is like being effective on a check down does matter. So I think he's top 3. So I guess I do disagree with you. I still think he's top 3.
I've got him at 6. I got him at 6 and Aaron Jones at 7. And I think that the difference between them is not. I think that might be a smaller gap than him and Derrick Henry.
I think that's true for all like those elite running backs. The gap is probably not that huge.
Yeah. Anyway, we got to move on. I'm pushing the anti-Christian McCaffrey narrative. Blaiden, you're up.
Anti-Christian McCaffrey. I think I'm pushing all pro narratives. Dax Milne. I had to bring up my guy. I still can't believe he went as late as he did. I think I don't think he does anything particularly great, but I think he does most things pretty well. And I think that's really important. He's consistent. He's reliable. From what I've heard, good things out of camp. I saw he was getting a lot of reps with the ones in camp. And, he did some pretty good things in preseason. He had a punt return for, I think, like 20 yards. He had a nice first down reception where he like caught it and then fought for extra yards. Like he looks good at the NFL level, and he seems to still keep that reliability. So I think I know he's not like a surefire roster spot because he was taken in the 7th round, but I like him a lot. I think I'm kind of with like Matt with like the Cincy running back, where it's like I think he'll be solid. It's not like
he
doesn't have to go out and have 1,000 yards as a rookie, but like no, I think he could be pretty good.
Speaking of a guy who I'm going back to the Bills, but we haven't had a single defensive player yet. And this one's also maybe a little bit of a sleeper.
Are you going to take my guy?
If this is your guy, I'd be stunned. One thing that Theo kept bringing up last year was a problem with the Bills was their run defense.
Oh, okay. Never mind. You're not taking my guy.
And I think getting back star Lotulelei is going to make a sneaky big deal, even if it's just as a rotational defensive tackle. He will not put up big stats. He will not put up big numbers, but he will make things easier for everybody else on the defensive line. He did that back with Carolina for a super long time, and the second he was gone, the Panthers regretted it. And it's funny, like that was, I promise you, that's what I was going to come into this take with. And then I go look up, see how he's doing at camp, and they're saying the exact same thing. So he's not going to be flashy, but he's just another good piece for that Bills defensive line, which is kind of deep. There's a lot of dudes on that defensive line.
There is no stat for eating a combo block and keeping your linebackers free. I kind of forgot Star was still in the league. I'll be completely real with you. He's been gone for a while, but they'll need him.
Yeah.
And
he's getting older, getting a little bit up there. Had an injury last year, so I'm a little cautious on this one, but I really like him. I think it's a big ad, and he's got, Carolina guy, knows how to use a Carolina guy.
Yep. And I'll keep it with the defensive players, and I'll go with Kareem Jackson, the safety for the Broncos. Justin Simmons, I think everyone knows that he's a phenomenal safety, but Kareem Jackson was putting up better numbers than him in a lot of different areas in terms of like success rate, or like if you want to look at efficiency for defensive players. But Kareem Jackson is also that guy on that defense, and the two of them combined are so good. I had to keep a spot for Kareem Jackson on my top 100 players list. I put him at number 100 because I think that he is great in every aspect of playing safety. Same with Justin Simmons. And he's a vet. He has been consistently excellent for his entire career, damn near. And he just does not get any respect. And the casual fan may not have even recognized the name Kareem Jackson. But Kareem Jackson is a guy, if the Broncos are going to have the defense I think they can have, it relies on Kareem Jackson, being just as strong as, anyone. It's why I think they'll have the best secondary in the league, is they might have 2 top 10 safeties on that team. And that's why I'm so high on them is everyone in that secondary is so good. And the lifeblood of that is their 2 veteran, Pro Bowl caliber safeties for sure.
I'm going to stick it with the safeties. Jordan Poyer. I think there are only a handful of safeties in this league that are satellites. They can just cover the field from sideline to sideline, no problem. And Poyer is one of those guys. I know he's not as physical as maybe like a Justin Simmons, Kareem Jackson, but like, I don't think it necessarily matters. I mean, it does matter to an extent, but when you can cover the field as well as he can, that eliminates a whole level of what offenses can do. They can't just take the top off against you nearly as easily.
Yes, he's a really good safety. And I remember my friend down here tweeted that something about how Jordan Poyer is underrated, and his girlfriend liked the tweet or something. His wife liked it. Whenever I think of Jordan Poyer, I think of him getting that notification. We're like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What I think of when
I love Jordan Poyer. No, he's awesome.
No, he's a good safety, really good safety.
Matt?
Back to me.
Yeah,
I'm going with a guy. I think we've talked about him before. Nico Collins,
Texans.
wide receiver for the Texans,
Out of Michigan.
And I'm realizing that my take about him is that he's super talented. He really stuck out to me every time that I watched him in college. But he was just on a team that had a really rough passing situation. But now I'm thinking about it and like, dude, has that changed?
No.
So
who's going to start? Davis Mills?
Yeah, it's like it's maybe not the best spot for him to be, but he does have a chance to be pretty high on the depth chart pretty early in his career. He got great ball skills, 6'4". You know, he's got some wheels, and I think he'll end up getting more attention than maybe some people are expecting, and a wide receiver room that I think is won't be too hard for him to navigate.
I know we have to kind of keep rolling, but I do want to say that from the NFL perspective, as opposed to college, receivers can still produce with bad quarterbacks. I think that's, like we obviously like Terrell Pryor had 1,000 yards. I've already talked about the Browns, so I'm not like holding back anymore. Terrell Pryor had 1,000 yards with like 5 different quarterbacks in that room. Like it's definitely doable. I don't care. You can produce.
It's definitely doable. It's just harder. I'm gonna push. This is rare, but I'm gonna push a Tom Brady narrative, and I think the Bucs might be my Super Bowl pick. I tried to like be cute and be like it'll be the Rams. But Jesus Christ, oh my God. Last year, Godwin wasn't even healthy. Antonio Brown came in and joined midseason. Like, I just don't, like Gronk and OJ Howard is back now. And the offensive line is so good. And it's like, the Tom Brady narrative that I'm pushing is like, that offense is so stupidly stacked that it's like, I don't know if like,
this is just a Bucs narrative more than even a Tom
This is just a Bucs narrative where it's like they don't even have to be any one of them like doesn't even have to be good, and they'll just elevate each other. So like I just don't want to like I don't really want to I don't know. It's a Bucs narrative where it's just like they are so stupidly stacked, and if they fail it's because their secondary is like good, not great, but even then it's like still not a terrible secondary at all.
I know we talked
and then
about
Vita
this
Vea was hurt for most of last year, and he's I think a top 5 defensive tackle. He's underrated. Maybe that's my guy. Maybe Vita Vea is the guy that I push. Vita Vea is maybe the second best tackle in the league behind Aaron Donald. Like it is. Well, there's Buckner, but that guy is like we talked about Star Lotulelei's run blocking. That dude eats double teams for breakfast. While also just being a lava flow that just like annihilates the guys in front of him. Vita Vea is that guy, and people don't know it yet, but he's huge. You look at him on the field, he's like this big round orb, like collapsing the pocket. That guy is something else, man. That guy is something else. And I watched him in the preseason game against the Bengals, and that guy was like slicing through their offense. I don't know if he did anything like tackle wise, but like, he was doing whatever he wanted. He was like slicing through him like a hot knife. He's insane. He's crazy. So this is not even I'll push him. I'll push Vita Vea.
And so it started as a Tom Brady, then the Bucs, then Vita Vea.
No, I'm settling on Vita. Something about the Bucs being ridiculously stacked.
Sometimes you get on the podcast and you're thinking like, okay, what am I going to say? And then you got to talk yourself through it a little bit.
Yeah. No, it's Vita Vea. I'm pushing the
Hearing it in your head versus actually saying it, totally different.
No, that guy's a baller. The dancing bear. He really is. All right,
dancing bear.
Blaiden, you're up. I love Vita Vea.
I'm gonna bring it back to receiver real quick. Everyone talks about how good Rashad Bateman is, and he is really good. No one's talking about Tylan Wallace, or at least not enough people are talking about Tylan Wallace, because he's actually been showing out pretty well at camp as well. And I think it's really interesting that, the Ravens, I think, did a really good job. And I said this when they drafted. Getting Bateman and Wallace was incredible. I thought that was one of the most impressive things they did all draft. Just solidifying that receiving core, getting a guy who is probably, I think Theo, you said, was the most complete receiver you thought coming out. Other than Bateman, other than maybe Waddle.
I like Wallace a lot too. I'm trying to remember where I had him on my scouting list. I think I had him as
you had him pretty high.
I liked Wallace a lot. I liked Wallace a lot.
I had him as a second round pick. Yeah, I had him as a
Wallace
top 10 wide receiver in the class.
Because Wallace is a ridiculous contested catch artist. That guy can go up and get it.
He's good. He's good at all aspects of playing wide receiver. Good route runner. He's maybe not the fastest dude, the most athletic guy, but yeah, he always looked solid to me. So yeah, I forgot that.
I liked Tylan Wallace a lot. That receiving core could be nasty this year. I can't lie, especially if Hollywood Brown's the 3. You're feeling pretty good. I think you're feeling pretty good.
Well, Bateman and Andrews have both gotten hurt in camp. It's bullshit. This sucks. Oh, finally, Lamar has weapons.
They get hurt. But I assume they'll be fine. They'll be fine.
Hopefully.
We'll throw it back to you, Matt. Who you got?
We're probably wrapping it up here soon. It wouldn't be on brand for me not to talk Cam Newton. We can go to the next one. He's my guy. I'm going down with the ship with Cam Newton. Good or bad, don't care. He's my guy. If you haven't heard me talk about him yet, I don't know what to tell you. That's
fair. I'll wrap it up then. We did Matt is at Cam Newton, and we've only got 5 minutes left. And I'll just say, anti-Joe Burrow. When he hits a deep shot, that's when things will really start to go downhill for me when it comes to my comments section. But I don't really think it's going to happen. Not even so much the anti-Bengals. It just kind of lines up with, it just happened. But nothing against the Bengals. It's just a lot of my criticism happens to be on the Bengals.
You hate the Bengals, dude.
Because they're not well run. Osai looks good.
Bengals fans hate you.
Yeah, they really do. But it's like, if maybe they should stop doing dumb things and I'd stop saying they're doing dumb things, Like maybe they should just play better.
That's really the worst. Every once in a while, one of those teams will be like, I just don't think this team's good. So then everything you say about them negative.
And then their uniforms, their uniforms are also bad. They have their new.
You really are. This guy.
The
uniforms suck. And then you posted that clip of that guy getting pancaked. And
that was a good video for him. I was like, Osai, no, Osai, look. The Osai video was good. They drafted Osai. I like Osai. So that was my good Bengals thing. But it's like, the reason I don't like the Bengals is because the Bengals do bad things. Like, they're the Bengals. They suck all the time. So it's like, of course I'm going to say they suck. I want them to do good so I can say something nice about them. That's why I made the Osai video. I'm like, I got to say something nice. But then they trot out there in jerseys that don't match. They're 3 different tones. The pants, helmet, and jersey look like 3 separate uniforms all mashed together. It looked horrible. So it's like, I'm sorry. I got to say this. I'm not going to mince my words. It's just because it's the Bengals and I've been mean to them.
What do you think of those new things about Mixon, though?
The new Packers jerseys are cool. I like the new Packers jerseys. What?
Dude, no, those stunk.
No, what?
Yes.
They're good. They're cool. I think they look good. They're better than the throwbacks we used to have.
I guess, okay. I'll wait to see them on field, but I don't know, dude.
I think they're going to look really good on the field. I think they look they look like a throwback kind of Oregon Ducks type of vibe. And people are like, oh,
you know what? That's what it is. It looks too Oregon-y, and they're not Oregon.
I don't know. They are. I guess they're not Oregon, but they are the Packers. So it's like green and gold. Like, what else?
It looks like a college uniform. Which
is okay to me. I think it's okay. Like, I think it's a throwback for one. The all green, kind of a throwback college-y type of look. These uniforms, I don't know exactly what the history is, but they were probably debuted in like 1913. So like, obviously they're going to be a little bit college-y because that's kind of the league that ran shit back then. So like, I kind of like as a throwback. Now they released them as like the main ones, but like as a throwback, I thought they were pretty cool.
Blaiden, hit your last guy.
All right, I'm going to take us home. Montez Sweat. You guys saved your like hottest guys, your best guys for last. I just think that Montez Sweat, people talk about, how good like Chase Young is. Chase Young's awesome, but Montez Sweat is just so athletically gifted and so massive. You want to talk about Gregory Rousseau being just a freak of nature? Montez Sweat is kind of the same way, where he's like 6'7", like looks like he belongs in the NBA playing center, and he's just like an edge defender. Obviously, he's too small to play center.
I know,
right?
I know what you mean.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But like he's just a freak, and I just think he deserves more respect being that athletic and that ridiculous.
Yeah, I think he was better than Chase Young last year. I do. I think that Chase Young just needed a little bit of work on his finesse pass rushing and working on his moves. I think Montez Sweat was kind of the more complete package last year. I don't think I would bet on that going forward, but I think Montez Sweat was a little bit better last year.
Even if he's not like that going forward, he's still just a really good player to have just with that kind of athleticism.
Right, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that kind of wraps things up for us. That we had to roll through that. We were getting in on that. As always, tons and tons of content coming away on all platforms. The NFL preseason continues to go on. By the time this episode comes out, Patriots and Eagles will have already played, but Patriots and Eagles play tonight. I will get to watch my main man Jalen Hurts. Very excited for that. Fantasy drafts are happening ever so shortly. Next week is going to be a big fantasy week for us, so stay tuned. Tons of content to discuss. Don't miss out. And as always, from Corn Boy, Dunk Boy, and Lemon Boy, we will catch you on the flip. Don't shake your head, Matt. Why are you shaking your head?
You know
we'll
what?
catch you on.
Come on.
We'll catch you on the flippity flop.